Hi, I'm Dustin Weiniger, here to talk about the Cowboy Load again, this time as it pertains to cap and ball revolvers. But first, let's make sure you understand what the Cowboy Load is, which I already did a video on. So let's take a look back at that previous video to see how the Cowboy Load works. Here's how to do the Cowboy Load. I open the loading gate, I bring the hammer to half cock, which will free the cylinder to move. I'm going to load one chamber, then I skip one chamber, leaving it empty, and then load the other four. 1, 2, 3, and 4. I'll close the gate, and at this point, when I pull the hammer all the way to the rear, you'll see that the empty chamber is now the one directly in front of the hammer. So I can lower it down, firing pin rests over an empty chamber without the risk of the gun discharging. Now obviously the gun I showed in that video was a cartridge revolver, but is the Cowboy Load really necessary on a cap and ball revolver? There's a lot of debate about that, and I would argue that the Cowboy Load is a good idea on your cap and ball revolver, and I'll give you two reasons why. First is the obvious, and that's the same reason you do it on a cartridge gun. You don't want the hammer resting on a live cap. Now, I know what you're probably thinking. You're probably thinking, but you could just rest the hammer between chambers using the notch in it and safely carry with 6 loaded chambers. Well, let's take a close look together at the cylinder and see what's going on when you do that. This is what the cylinder looks like on this 1851 Navy, with the nipples capped and the hammer resting directly on an empty chamber. Now, the frame of the revolver protects these caps from being impacted by anything and potentially setting them off. Now there is a cutout here in the frame, but the nipples are spread far enough apart that you can see that they're still pretty well shielded by the frame. But now let's take a look at where they're positioned when the hammer is resting between 2 chambers. Now the hammer is resting on its notch between 2 chambers. Now look at the cap that's right here. Now it is positioned right in the middle of this cutout, fully exposed and therefore vulnerable to impact. Now granted, it would take a bit of an impact to set that off, and if you're wearing a holster, the holster would probably go a long way in preventing that. But it is a risk, even if a small one, but the risk is completely eliminated if the hammer just rests on an empty chamber. Now if you're just at the range, you're not going to be carrying the gun for any period of time, then of course it's fine to load all 6, and you've seen me do that in other videos with this and with the Walker revolver. But if you're going to carry in a holster with the potential of possibly bumping into things or having things bump into you and your firearm, just remember you do have an exposed cap here, and you may want to consider the Cowboy Load method of just loading 5 chambers and resting the hammer on an empty chamber, even with your percussion cap and ball revolver. Well, as always, I hope this short video was helpful. Please remember to click that like button below and subscribe to the channel so you can see more videos. Don't forget to click the bell too so you can be notified when new videos come out. And as always, thank you so much for watching.